Who is the Data Protection Office? It is a public office which acts with complete independence and impartiality. It is not subject to the control or direction of any other person or authority in the discharge of its functions. The head of the office is the Data Protection Commissioner. What are the main functions of DPO? First, ensure compliance with the Data Protection Act 2017 and any regulations made under the DPA. Second, registration of controllers and processors. Third, investigation of complaints. Fourth, sensitization trainings. Fifth, exercise control on all data protection issues. Sixth, conduct data protection compliance audits. Seventh, cooperate with supervisory authorities of other countries. Eighth, research on data protection. The Data Protection Act 2017. It replaces the Data Protection Act of 2004. It was passed on 8th of December 2017 at the National Assembly and presidentially assented to on 23rd of December 2017. It came into force on 15th of January 2018. Basic concepts. Who is a data subject? An identified or identifiable individual, that is, any data which can identify an individual, in particular by reference to an identifier, such as a name, an identification number, location data, an online identifier, or one or more factors specific to the physical, physiological, genetic, mental, economic, cultural or social identity of that individual. What is personal data? Any information relating to a data subject. What is processing? An operation or set of operations performed on personal data or sets of personal data, whether or not by automated means, such as collection, recording, organization, structuring, storage, restriction, erasure or destruction, use, etc. Who is a controller? A person who or public body which, alone or jointly with others, determines the purposes and means of the processing of personal data and has decision-making power with respect to the processing. Who is a processor? A person who or a public body which processes personal data on behalf of a controller. I will give you an example of who is a processor. Let's say Everready Company specializes in data processing for the administration of human resource management for other companies. In this function, Everready is a processor for the other companies. However, Everready is the controller of data processing operations for the purpose of fulfilling its obligations as an employer, as Everready processes the personal data of its own employees and non-employees. What is the application of the Data Protection Act? For the purposes of this Act, each ministry or government department will be treated as separate from any other ministry or government department. This Act also applies to the processing of personal data, wholly or partly by automated means, and to any processing otherwise than by automated means where the personal data forms part of a filing system or is intended to form part of a filing system. The Act applies to a controller or processor who is established in Mauritius and processes personal data in the context of that establishment and is not established in Mauritius but uses equipment in Mauritius for processing personal data other than for the purpose of transit through Mauritius. The Act does not apply to the exchange of information between ministries, government departments and public sector agencies where such exchange is required on a need-to-know basis. The processing of personal data by an individual in the course of a purely personal or household activity. Investigation of complaints. The Commissioner is empowered to investigate any complaint or information which gives rise to a suspicion that an offence may have been, is being, or is about to be committed under the DPA, or cause it to be investigated by an authorized officer, unless she is of the opinion that the complaint is frivolous or vexatious. Investigation of complaints has always been part of our previous functions, but is now enhanced with the amicable resolution of disputes wherever possible. How is the investigation carried out? First, send to the Commissioner for advice. Second, contact complainant for statement. Third, record complainant statement. Fourth, contact respondent for statement. Fifth, record respondent statement. Sixth, cross-examination of parties. Seventh, compile investigation report. Eighth, communicate decision to complainant and respondent. Ninth, file the case. How long does the investigation take? Depending on the complexity of the cases, it may take 3 months to 1 year or even more. It also highly depends on collaboration of all parties and availability, gathering of evidence. What can be the outcome of the investigation? An amicable resolution between the parties concerned, or an offence being filed at the office of a Director of Public Prosecutions, where the latter will decide if the offence has to be tried or not before a court. Is the decision of the Commissioner appealable? Any person who feels aggrieved by the Commissioner's decision has a right of appeal to the ICT Appeal Tribunal. He has to do so within 21 days from the date when the decision is made known to him. Registration of controllers and processors. Should controllers and processors register with the Data Protection Office? The answer is yes. No person shall act as controller or processor unless he or it is registered with the Commissioner. The validity period of the registration certificate is 3 years. Renewal is to be effected 3 months prior to expiry of registration. Notification of change in particulars should be done within 14 days to the office. What is the registration procedure? You should fill in the application form and submit the relevant documents. You should then effect payment and you would be issued with a certificate. Can a management company register on behalf of global business entities under its supervision? The answer is yes, but all personal data of the global business entity must be centralized at the management company. The management company must clearly indicate that it accepts total legal responsibility under the DPA 2017 as controller of the global business entities under its supervision. The global business entity must register separately in case other personal data are being processed at its end, which are outside the control of the management company. Offences. If you provide any false or misleading information in the particulars of information required, you can be subject to a fine not exceeding 100,000 rupees or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years. If you fail to notify the change in particulars, you may be subject to a fine not exceeding 50,000 rupees.